we love our food, don't we? And when we get together, the time can be enhanced or even ruined based on the food. Not just about the taste, though. It's an issue of health. Today we think about food safety. Welcome to Weekend Connection. My name is Mike Dyes. Now, let's get connected. As Americans, we may not agree on things such as politics or sports, but one thing we have a lot of agreement on, we like our food. But if we're not careful in how we handle it, food can make us sick. And today we consider some tips on keeping your food safe. Our guest is Maribel Alonso, food safety expert with the United States Department of Agriculture. The USDA is responsible for developing and executing federal laws related to farming, forestry, and food. Maribel, welcome to Weekend Connection.
Thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Well, food really is a vital part of our lives, not just because we need it to survive, but it plays a major role in our holiday celebrations, in our relationships, sitting around the table with family and friends. Food really is a big part of our lives, isn't it?
It is, and it's a very serious, it's a very serious issue nowadays that we have to remember. Foodborne illness caused 128,000 hospitalizations and 3,000 deaths each year. We want to remember 4 basic steps: clean, separate, cook, and chill.
All right. Well, let's just take each one of those one at a time. Start with the first one, the clean.
We want to remind consumers to wash their hands and kitchen surfaces often during cooking. We want to make sure they follow the 4, or I want to say more than 4 steps to hand washing properly, which is wet your hands with clean running water. You want to turn off the tap, apply soap, lather your hands, rubbing them together with soap. Then you want to scrub your hands for at least 20 seconds. And this is the key here. You want to remember that 20 seconds you need to be scrubbing your hands with soap. You want to rinse your hands well under clean running water and then dry your hands using a clean towel.
All right. Now, I think a lot of us would say, hey, we know how to wash our hands, but you're saying that people aren't quite as careful as they should be.
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, people sometimes remember to wash their hands before handling, the food, or after they prepare. Sometimes you grab your raw chicken and your raw meat, and then you switch to your salad, and you forget you wash your hands. Also, we have observed, like recently we had a study, USDA in collaboration with RTI International and North Carolina State University. They observed participants preparing their meal. They discovered that hand washing was not attempted 74% of the time that it was required, and when they did attempt to wash their hands, 99% of the time they didn't do it correctly. So it is a big issue, even though we think that we know how to wash our hands correctly. We just have to do it more carefully.
Now, does the water need to be really hot when we wash our hands?
Not necessarily. They can use warm or cold water. As long as they follow the steps that I mentioned before, that should be fine.
When we think of cross-contamination, what really does that mean?
So cross-contamination is when we carry bacteria from one place to the other. So, for example, when we're handling raw meat and poultry, we want to remember that there is bacteria present everywhere. So if we don't wash our hands, or if we don't wash utensils in between when we switch to our ready-to-eat foods, we can transfer those bacteria from our raw meat and poultry to surfaces, and then we can transfer those as well to our ready-to-eat food. Use a different cutting board when you're handling raw meat and poultry, and use a completely different one or a clean one when you're handling your ready-to-eat food, such as salad.
Now, this makes me think of doing some grilling. Should we be careful when we put the food out and it's raw? We use maybe tongs or something. Should we get a different set of tongs and a different plate after it's cooked rather than use the same thing each time?
That is a great point, Mike. Yes, we do want to do that. We want to use a clean plate when we're taking our cooked food out of the grill. We don't want to use the same tray that we, brought. Sometimes when we are out of the kitchen, our grill is outside, or we are cooking outdoors, we bring in our raw meat and poultry, in a tray, and we don't want to use the same tray to put the cooked food. So you want to make sure that you bring a clean one with you, or if you're at home, you don't want to wash it in between with hot soapy water.
Our guest is Maribel Alonso, food safety expert with the USDA. Well, we've thought about the first two of those four, cleaning and separating. What do you have to tell us about the third, which is cook?
Using a food thermometer, it is very important to know that our meat and poultry have reached the right temperature to kill bacteria. You cannot rely on the color of meat. So 1 in 4 hamburgers will turn brown before actually reaching that temperature to kill any bacteria that could be present. So a food thermometer is the only way to make sure. Any poultry that you cook in has to reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to make sure that your beef, pork, lamb, steaks, and roasts reach 145. And any ground beef, such as hamburgers, you want to make sure that they reach 160 internal temperature.
I remember hearing or reading one time that a lot of what we think is the flu is actually food poisoning. Is that true that a lot of times we get food poisoning and don't even realize it?
That is true. Sometimes we think that, because the symptoms for food poisoning are very similar to flu-like symptoms, like, seasonal symptoms, we think that, maybe this is, I'm catching something. So we want to really pay attention, especially when you're in the within at-risk group, young children, pregnant women. So you want to make sure that they pay attention to those symptoms and contact their doctor if they have any questions.
All right, the four basic steps we thought about cleaning, separating, cooking. What is that fourth step, chill, about?
The fourth step chills highlights the importance of prompt refrigeration of food. So you want to make sure that you don't leave any food out in the danger zone. And we call the danger zone any temperature between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the range of temperature where bacteria can grow really quickly. So you want to keep your food cold within 2 hours. If you're tailgating outside, if you're preparing, lunch for your kids, you're packing those lunches, you want to make sure you add a cold source in your lunches. Or if you're tailgating outside, you want to make sure you bring a cooler with ice. And don't leave any perishable out, any cooked foods out for more than 2 hours.
I sometimes think about going to the grocery store, and then I think, well, it's going to sit in the car for a while because I'm going to go do something else. How careful do we need to be when it comes to things that are refrigerated in the grocery store or even frozen, and how long we can leave them, say, in the car before we go and take them home?
You want to make sure that if you're gonna hit traffic on the way home, or if you're gonna go somewhere after going to the store, bring a cooler with you, bring ice with you, so you can put those perishables in ice while you're driving around, or if you hit traffic on the way home. So when you go into the store, pick perishable items last. So anything that is cold at the store, you want to keep cold on your way home, or you want to refrigerate as soon as you get home. And you want to make sure that happens within 2 hours. So it's very, very important to remember that bacteria grows really quickly at room temperature, and you cannot smell it, you cannot taste it, and you cannot, see it. So you just get sick afterwards. So this is very, very, these 4 steps are very, very important for everybody to remember when they are preparing meals for their families or friends.
Let's talk a little bit more about school lunches. There's some foods we really shouldn't include in a school lunch because of it being too hot or too cold or for some other reason.
You can include any healthy items that you want to pack for your kid, or if you want to pack for yourself or for work. You just want to make sure that if you include any perishable foods such as luncheon meats, eggs, cheese, or yogurt, you want to at least pack 2 cold sources with it. And what you can do is you can freeze the night before either a juice box and a bottle of water, and then add some gel packs with your lunchbox as well. That way you can keep everything cold until you're ready to eat it at lunch. If you want to pack a hot lunch, then make sure that you use a container that is insulated. So that way you can fill that container with boiling hot water. Then you're going to discard that water and add your hot food. That way it will stay hot until it's ready to eat at lunch.
A lot of us get together at church and have a meal with others, and the food sits out for a while. If you go maybe eating outside under a covered area, How safe is that? Do we need to make sure that we don't leave the food out there more than a certain length of time before it gets eaten?
Yes, it's important that they remember the danger zone, and it's important to put that food away within 2 hours. So sometimes we are, outside cooking outdoors, tailgating, and we forget that our food is still sitting on the table. So any cooked food, any perishable items, put in a cooler with ice or take it back to the refrigerator within 2 hours. Don't leave it out.
Our guest is Maribel Alonso of the USDA. I saw a billboard, I see it quite a bit, and it promotes the idea of the power of local flour. Tell me a little bit about the importance of eating food that's locally grown. Do we know if that's a big help in our eating?
Well, it's always important to, support our local farmers but at USDA, our mission is to make sure that any food that you buy at the store is wholesome and is safe to eat. So, always support your local farmers but just be aware or be certain that the food that you're buying from the store, any kind of meat and poultry products that are inspected by the USDA are safe and wholesome.
Let's talk a little bit about international travel. Any advice you'd have on what's safe to eat when we're in other countries? It may not be bad in itself, but maybe our bodies are just not used to some of the foreign food. What advice would you have on that?
So yes, always be aware when you're traveling. Make sure that you look maybe at our U.S. Department of Agriculture website to see, if there's any kind of advisory or alert, because that could change, constantly. So make sure you inform yourself and you know what foods you cannot eat at the moment. You can always call our hotline, our meat and poultry hotline. Our number is 1-888-674-6854. We have food safety experts that can help you with those questions as well.
What about bottled water? Is that recommended rather than drinking the local water?
It depends on your area, so it's always important to be informed. Sometimes your State Department of Agriculture provides that information on their website. So, yes, it is equally important to make sure that your water is safe. And that's another question that you can call our hotline, and we can help you find the most recent information.
All right. Anything you want to add before we go, Maribel?
So I just want to remind everybody our 4 steps one more time. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. And if you have questions, call us at the Meat and Poultry Hotline at 1-888-674-6854.
All right. Thank you. Our guest, Maribel Alonso of the USDA. Thank you, Maribel, for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this feature, a production of BBN, the Bible Broadcasting Network. BBN provides 24-hour Christian programming, great Christian music, and Bible teaching. Listen to BBN by clicking the link in the description.